What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackmine, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, brother, they got a head coach, and it's been 48 hours, and I don't know where you have been, but if you are on Twitter, social media, any conversation with any Pittsburgh Steelers fan in the world, well, things are still red hot on the tail of the Pittsburgh Steelers hiring Mike McCarthy as the 17th coach of the franchise and the fourth coach in the last 60 years. He comes to Pittsburgh. He will be introduced tomorrow. We'll have coverage from there, obviously. But before then, Art Rooney made his thoughts on the situation known, had a little bit of a backlash, a little bit of clapping back on the fan base for being upset. He gave his thoughts on the quarterback and where Mike McCarthy might thrive developing a young quarterback in Pittsburgh. And over the weekend, you released your list of coordinators that the Pittsburgh Steelers could look at with links and connections to Mike McCarthy himself. For all of you still digging out your cars and or sidewalks in the snowstorm of the century that we all got over the weekend, hope everybody is safe, has some power, is staying warm, and is taking those Tylenol to make sure that the back is feeling nice and limber tomorrow as we all go back to work. How you feeling, my friend? Hope you're surviving the snow.
Feeling good. I tell you what, I was telling you this, before we started the show, the amount of just sort of community helping that was needed around our neighborhood, because there was just snow everywhere. People didn't know where to shovel the snow to. People didn't know how to get their cars out. I saw a Pat bus needed to be towed away from in front of my house. We had to help people get dug out mid-road. It was an excellent snow day with everybody safe and sound. I echo your sentiments about being safe, warm, and healthy in a crazy snowstorm, but we're doing good. And I gotta say, I kind of loved watching the snow fall and just pile up around us. So I'm doing good. Still don't know if I've calmed down from the big news regarding the Pittsburgh Steelers, if I'm being perfectly honest, but I'm trying. Truly, I'm trying.
I honestly, I'm trying as well. I've watched a lot of takes and podcasts and everything else about Mike McCarthy, trying to just like create a sense of what just happened and whether or not we should be excited. I will say that the Rams giving up 30 points, 30 points, right? To the 30 plus points to the Seattle Seahawks yesterday. It was a little bit of like, okay, look at bare minimum, you could turn this into something. You could say if it was Chris Shula, maybe it wouldn't have been the best candidate. Still don't know if I sit on the side of this was exciting and or I'm not miserable about the situation, but we're going to dive into it. You want to know who isn't miserable about the situation, but is sure as heck aware that we all are? That is Pittsburgh Steelers owner and team president Art Rooney II, who shared his thoughts with Bob Labriola yesterday. And before I dive into this, I will say that yesterday or Saturday, when we did the live stream, everybody was asking, do you think Rooney hears us? Do you think Rooney understands how upset people are? And I kept saying, no, he has no idea. I was very, very clearly wrong. And I am actually so excited that I was. He, speaking with team writer Bob Labriola, said this, quote, "We're really not worried about winning the initial press conference. It's about picking the coach we believe will help us win games. And social media really doesn't enter into it. And none of that will matter once we're starting to play games. The message for our fans is we're very excited. We think we have a coach who is well equipped to lead us into the next winning phase of Steelers football, and that's what it's all about. I think they're going to love Coach Mike." I'll open the floor to you. I will give you your response because I've been thinking about this for 24 hours now, mulling it over, and I don't want to hog the spotlight, so I'll give it to you. What are your thoughts on this? Did you laugh as much as I did when Art Rooney said, "Hey, shut up I made the decision and I like it. And that's what this is.
I read it and I thought to myself, this probably could have waited until the introductory press conference.
Yeah.
But, I would agree with you. I'm a person who tends to think that what is said on, our show, the takes that float around social media don't really make their way into the ears and stay within the brains of the Steelers brass like President Art Rooney. Apparently there was so much pushback that there was a need to get ahead of this immediately, not wait for the introductory press conference. So it struck me as, that they hear the sort of the backlash that this decision is creating. They obviously have intentions to win their haters and doubters over, and, please prove me wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. I love to admit to the times that I am wrong when I read the situation incorrectly. It seems a bit, I don't understand when a team in any professional sport thinks that they are, getting out ahead of the pushback on social media by saying something like, we're pumped about this. We don't even think about social media. You're going to love this. Just watch out. And it's like, well, okay, well, that's, maybe just if you let things settle, I think maybe there's a less vitriolic response into this. But to come back, you announce it Saturday, come back on Sunday with like, hey, this is great. I like this a lot. Everyone's like, all right, I don't know what, okay, fine. But I don't.
I don't either. And I understand where he's coming from. But my thoughts on the matter with Rooney addressing this situation are very simple. I think he understands the pressure of it. I think that this is such a legacy move for Art Rooney that he got the backlash that he was going after. It only further solidified that this wasn't an Art Rooney move. This was a Rooney call to say, this is our head coach. This will be our head coach. Nothing is going to change, no matter how upset the fans are. It shows me that he hears everything, but it also shows me that he, no matter how hard, is going to push and fight to make sure that the Pittsburgh Steelers remain a playoff team at all times, which is this. Let me ask you this question. For the last 9 years, we have fought against the statement, the standard is the standard. We have said it is no longer the standard. It is not the case anymore. And I think Mike Tomlin had a lot of flaws, a ton of flaws. But I also think Mike Tomlin was a great coach. Do I think Mike Tomlin was the difference between a Super Bowl and not a Super Bowl? No, I don't think that that you look at Mike Tomlin and say, if he did everything exactly the same and Rooney got out of his way, he would have won more championships. I don't think that's the case. But I will say that in every conversation we had where the standard is no longer the standard, I think where we missed many times, and now it is becoming very evident, is that Rooney had a hand in this more than we thought he did. That Rooney had a standard, a certain expectation that you needed to hit all the time. And if you didn't hit it, you had the opportunity to be gone, because Rooney needed to make sure that the Steelers always stayed in that limelight, in that competitive atmosphere. And I think that this has a chance to go really well and for the Steelers to turn Mike McCarthy into a Super Bowl champion, because you never know. But I also have the outlook that if this goes really south, Art Rooney is much closer to leaving the Pittsburgh Steelers as a guy who made a lot of mistakes as an owner near the end than a guy who kept the Pittsburgh Steelers as this excellent franchise. Because he did do that, certainly. But people will always, it's like going to a restaurant. If you like it, you'll tell nobody. If you hate it, you'll tell 10 people. We will always remember that Rooney drafted Kenny, that Rooney hired Matt Canada, and that Rooney hired Mike McCarthy. And I just think that's the dangerous game he's playing with this one. And him fighting back only solidifies that more in my head, that this was Rooney's call, and that, the standard, whatever we made that to be, whatever the Steelers made that to be over the last 19, 20 years, that's Rooney's standard more than anybody else's.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to spin it in any other way. Like here's what I commend about AR2. He has a vision that he is sticking to, right? He really believes in the Steelers tradition, the family that he comes from, maintaining the legacy of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I genuinely admire that, right? Like I've heard the story of how the Pittsburgh Steelers came to be so many times.
Yeah.
I've listened to The Chief, a great play about AR Uno, a million times when I worked in theater. I know the ins and the outs. I understand, I love, I admire the preservation of this historic franchise. I wrote about this as well. I think there is so much fear in preserving it rather than bold assertiveness. It's like this fear of being the one who's messed up the Pittsburgh Steelers that they are inevitably walking down this path, and we keep talking about
Yes.
it. And I don't think it is solely on Art Rooney the second, right? Like it's an entire team, but
Agreed.
I don't know, if it was his decision to hire Mike McCarthy over someone else, then that's his guy. If it was his overruling of keeping Mike Tomlin on board longer than maybe he should have, it's another mark against him as well. So you look at the sort of legacy he's leaving. To me, it seems to be defined by, highlighted by these moves that were made to preserve the Pittsburgh Steelers legacy, but really have just kind of backfired. And I think you could chalk that up to making them maybe out of fear, maybe not out of, what knowing the best path forward was, because maybe he just doesn't know.
Maybe at some point you don't know and you have to back up. I think that's my biggest thing with owners in the NFL is that you have a general manager, you have a football front office for a reason. You know what I mean? They study all of this. You want to know what you do? You show up and watch games. And I get it. I understand all of it, but I don't think that an owner should ever be leading the search for a head coach or for coaches in general. And it kind of feels like that's what happened here. And again, shout out to Rooney if it works. He proves us all wrong. If he doesn't, he retires. He's the next scapegoat. You know what I mean? It's where everybody turns after this one. It's an obvious, that's what happens. Yeah, that's where the fans go next, is they say, you made this decision. It's on you. You know what I mean? And it doesn't look good. The other side of this, the side that people will get excited about, is that Rooney kind of peeled back the curtain to Mike McCarthy and where he's headed at the quarterback position. He said, quote, he likes Will Howard, thinks Will has tremendous upside, is looking forward to working with him, obviously feels like Mason can be a contributor. Shout out to Mason Rudolph. We'll have to sit down and discuss where Aaron is if he decides to come back and whether that all makes sense. I think Mike was very comfortable with the quarterback room and the possibilities with the quarterback room. In particular, the fact we have a young quarterback on the roster in whom he sees some upside. I and you have talked about this many times, and we have never once said Will Howard is going to be a starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Did this quote change your mind? Maybe as much as it changed mine, because Mike McCarthy's sitting here going, Art, let me tell you, I developed Joe Montana during his last 2 years in Kansas City. You know what I'm saying? This guy showed up, Hall of Famer, greatest quarterback of all time. And I said, let's put the icing on the cake. He threw 16 touchdowns. You could thank me for that one. I'm going to do the same thing with Will Howard. That's what's just going to happen here. I don't know, man. What is Will Howard about to be the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers? And let me say this. A lot of people think that we don't like Will Howard. That's not the case. Very much so like Will Howard as a human. And if Will Howard proved me wrong, I'd be so excited. It's always been about play and potential. It has nothing to do with me actually wanting to root for them. So if this works out, awesome. I'll go back to this question. Do you think Will Howard's actually going to be starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers at some point in the next probably 2 years?
I don't think he's going to be, but I do think that Mike McCarthy increases the likelihood or increases the chances that he could be. I'm not saying I think AR2 is talking BS in that quote through Bob Labriola put out through the Steelers, but I don't think it's true or honest or genuine. It sounds like stuff you say in the offseason about the current roster that you have going into a new season. Yeah, we like who we have. Mike liked it. Yeah, we asked him about it for sure. Wink, wink. We were like, hey, Mike, do you like these guys? And he was like, who? And they were like, just check yes. It's great. So no, I don't think that Will Howard is going to be the starter. And this is, we talked about this morning, and then it made me ask this question, like, why should I believe that Will Howard, a young, unpolished quarterback, will go from that to the next level under Mike McCarthy? And I look back through his entire expansive career in the NFL,
Yes.
and I can find one example of a quarterback who was under 25, had no success before Mike McCarthy, and then became successful. Do you know who that was?
Yeah, it's the guy he's going to coach in 2026 as a starting quarterback, Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
That's who it's going to be, which is a good example. Let's not.
That's a
great
good example. But here's the thing. And that's not even who I had in mind. That's who everybody goes to. But here's the thing. Mike McCarthy did not draft Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years behind Brett Favre before he ever really was the starter. The guy I'm thinking of is Aaron Brooks with the New Orleans Saints, and this was between 2001 and 2004 before Mike McCarthy departs right before he goes to Green Bay. Aaron Brooks gets drafted by Green Bay in 1999. Mike McCarthy's there as the quarterback's coach. The next year, he becomes offensive coordinator with the New Orleans Saints. Aaron Brooks eventually takes over for Jeff Blake, has 3 years, 4 years, my notes are saying here, surpassing 3,500 passing yards, 26 or 24 plus touchdowns. That's the only one. Aaron Rodgers, yes, that's the guy everyone talks about, right? And they achieve everything together. But you look at a guy like Aaron Brooks, and you're like, okay, there is a guy who probably had much lower expectations, a late round draft pick, works with Mike McCarthy hand in hand, and then that is probably the main person you can attribute to his success, over those 4 or 5 years in the NFL. So you point to that. If that is where your hope lies, great. That was 22 years ago.
Look at, sometimes lightning strikes twice. It probably won't in recent memory, but 22 years, that's a whole human. You've grown into it. That next quarterback can legally drink. Lightning may strike twice. I will say this. I think Mike McCarthy's been a very good head coach in the NFL. And would it surprise me if he created another good quarterback in Pittsburgh? No, I don't think it should surprise anybody. I don't think anybody should look at a guy who's offensive minded, who has had 13 years of success in the NFL and say, no, that guy can't develop anything. He sucks. No. And I don't think that's anybody's problem with Mike McCarthy as a hire. I don't think there's a single person sitting around going, this guy is so garbage, get him out of here. No, everybody's looking at it the same way, going, that's the least exciting move humanly possible. It is, you want to talk Mike Tomlin adjacent, it's Mike Tomlin adjacent with a step down, because at least Mike Tomlin's guaranteed to get you to the playoffs. This guy, you don't know what's going on here. And if he thinks that his 6th round quarterback is going to be the guy who pulls him out of that, I think he and Rooney and everybody else are crazy. I don't think Will Howard is going to be the guy that gets the opportunity. I think, just like you said, he had to hype him up, because what's he going to do? Walk in there and be like, I think I can make mountains out of molehills with this guy, Mason Rudolph. Rooney be like, get out of my house. Get out. Just leave. We get out of here. Get out. Immediately leave. It'd be awful.
It'd be awful.
What I do think, though, and I'm not guaranteeing this, but this is just, where my mind went with this conversation, is I think that the Steelers are the team to watch right now to go get a quarterback in the draft. And that sucks way worse. It really does. It's terrible. But this guy and Rooney and everything, every single statement that Rooney put out about this entire situation started with the quarterback position and ended with, that's not all that we brought him here to do. And then the next one would be, well, he's great at developing quarterbacks, but that's not all he's here to do. We think he's a Super Bowl winning coach, but he is really good at developing quarterbacks, but he's also a really good head coach. They know that their time frame is very short with him. They know that they got to move quickly. Rooney's already making desperate moves at desperate times. I took it as maybe Will Howard is the guy if they don't get the guy that they think that they should get in the NFL draft. But I think it's Will Howard or a rookie quarterback, and they're going to try to develop somebody. I think that's where my head went, is the Steelers officially are a team to watch again in the NFL draft to go get a quarterback. Like the guy that I've been saying the whole time, Ty Simpson, because what 1 + 1 = 2 terrible moves, and the Steelers seem destined to make them. So again, I maybe it's Will, and I wouldn't rule out Will, but my mind immediately went to Steelers are about to go get a quarterback. That's about to happen.
Yeah, it's hard to dispute, my man. They need one. They need more competition, more depth. He's the QB whisperer. I don't know when this reputation became cemented. But yes, of course, let's go get his protege. This is the way forward. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's talk some coordinators here, because I think that's the next question in this conversation is, where do the Steelers go? The one thing with Mike McCarthy is he does have a ginormous tree, but it's no longer a coaching tree. It's more of a player tree. Guys who played underneath him, who have become coaches elsewhere in the NFL. You put up a list the other day. I have it in front of me if you need it. If not, I'm sure you got it in front of you. Hit me with the names that you think the Steelers could watch with connections to McCarthy as we try to find the Steelers' next offensive and defensive coordinator.
Yeah, so I threw together 5 names here. I'll start with some offensive names, and these are, again, as Noah mentioned, all guys that have some ties, connections, work history with Mike McCarthy. We're talking about a guy who began working in the NFL in 1993 with the Kansas City Chiefs and has stops in Green Bay, New Orleans, Dallas, now Pittsburgh. It's a lot of people, a lot of players. The first person I have on my list is a man by the name of Chase Hazlitt, 33-year-old New Orleans Saints tight ends coach. He worked under Mike McCarthy with the Dallas Cowboys, also played quarterback at a local school, IUP. How about that? He was an offensive assistant under McCarthy a couple of years ago, and he's been with the New Orleans Saints since. So you look at a young mind like him, could be somebody to watch as well. A former quarterback of Mike McCarthy with the Green Bay Packers, also with the New Orleans Saints now as their quarterbacks coach. Scott Tolzien is a name that has been thrown around a lot. Tons of connections there. One of those Aaron Rodgers backups for a few years, and has been on the trajectory of continuing to get promotions here, probably is slated for a coordinator position at some point. Last offensive name I have here is the current Dallas Cowboys quarterback coach, Steve Shimko. And he was also an assistant under Mike McCarthy before he was shown the door in Dallas. But he has experience with Dak Prescott, working with Joe Milton. Talk about developing a quarterback. You might like those names there. 2 defensive names to watch. One's already was with the team. Their inside linebackers coach, Scott McCurley, was on that Dallas Cowboys staff as well under Mike McCarthy. Could be a name that stays around on the defensive side of the ball. And I feel like everybody's talking about Al Harris, who was a Green Bay Packers safety, played for Mike McCarthy, and then kind of became his right-hand man in multiple coaching situations, was an assistant head coach with the Dallas Cowboys. In McCarthy's final season, he's currently employed with the Chicago Bears as their defensive backs coach and pass game coordinator.
So the 2 names that stick out to me, Al Harris is the first one. I actually like Al Harris. I don't know if you bring him in as a defensive backs coach, but I do or as a defensive coordinator, but I wouldn't be upset with it. I would like an experienced guy. You want to call Raheem Morris still. You want to call, I don't know. I don't know who's floating out there. Let's be really honest. Raheem Morris is the name that comes to mind that doesn't have a deal, who has that defensive coordinator, head coaching experience. Raheem Morris is the guy, but I like Al Harris. I think he's the next step. And defensive guys, especially guys who have played those positions, who've played the corner, safety, inside linebacker roles where your job is to know the entire defense, they tend to have a lot of success. Him being a passing game coordinator, I think, helps a lot to be able to have more hands in the pile instead of just, hey, I'm here to develop the defensive backs. Tyreek Stevenson, outside of one absolutely awful Washington Commanders play, has been excellent. So I like that move as well. And I think he's on the verge there. I'd be okay taking a risk on him. Gives me some Kelvin Shepard vibes at this point in his career. And then on offense, it's Steve Shimko. Shimko,
right? Yeah.
Shimko. Like him because of the Dak Prescott stuff, but I also like him because he developed under Kellen Moore. Like I'm a big believer in Kellen Moore. I mean, he made Tyler Shuck look decent this year. That's impressive. That's so impressive with no wide receivers. You know what I mean? Like Chris Olave was either dealing with a concussion or dealing with the aftermath of a concussion and nothing in between. To be able to turn a second round pick that I thought was the worst selection possible into a pretty stable quarterback was a good move. Also made Spencer Rattler look not terrible. I like Kellen Moore. I think to learn under him, to develop a guy like Dak Prescott, who's a 4th round pick, you got to remember that. Like Dak Prescott is not a guy who was drafted 1st overall. He came in here and somehow proved to be better than Tony Romo. So he had a hand in developing a guy that shouldn't have had an NFL shot. Like you said, if they're trying to develop a quarterback, I like that route. I think it works a lot. But of that list, those are the 2 names that Scott McCurley, people liked him in Pittsburgh. I'm not giving him a defensive coordinator job. You want to bring him back as an inside linebackers coach? Great. Those are the 2 that I think have the upside to watch. The rest of the list to me is like, cool. As a position coach, that'd be fun. Those two stand out.
Yeah, I think I would agree. Yeah, I think between Shimko and Scott Tolzien, like you have guys that have just like proven track records of working with good quarterbacks and getting more out of them, especially with New Orleans this past season. So yeah, again, you need to exhaust every resource possible in developing a quarterback. And if the goal, the number one priority is developing that franchise quarterback, give your head coach and his staff the best sort of assets to do so. So I would be very okay with one of those hires.
Yeah, me too. I anticipate hires to actually happen rather soon. I think that interviews will happen in the next maybe week, over the next week, and then you will have an offensive or a defensive coordinator, I'd say in the next 2 weeks. That would be my guess, is somewhere around the Super Bowl, the Steelers, big names are filled, and then they fill the rest of the staff pretty quickly. Those guys usually happen instantaneously, and then you go from there. We'll see what's up. All right. With that said, that's everything on our agenda. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side of it, we're going to start answering your questions. Toss them in the chat. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
Pittsburgh, this one's for you. From the voices behind all Steelers talk comes Black and Gold apparel, your go-to for bold, fan-driven merch that reps the city, the Steelers, and everything in between. Whether you bleed black and gold or just love that Pittsburgh grit, we've got something for you. It's more than a podcast. It's a community. And thanks to your support, we're proud to bring the passion from our mics to your closets. Gear up, stand out, and show the world what real fans look like. Shop now at blackandgoldapparel.myshopify.com.
All righty. Shout out to our members. Shout out to our super chatters. Can't thank you guys enough. Before we go in here, hit the like and subscribe button. We're trying to make our 6,000 by the Super Bowl. We're getting closer every single day. Smack it, and it'll help a lot. I want to give a shout out to Macaroni gifting 20 Steelers Talk memberships. My God. Yeah, that is one way to celebrate a snow day. I hope, honestly, you did not get any snow. I hope that you live in a snowy state, that right now somehow it all avoided you. You have a freshly clean driveway and your car is easily accessible, my friend. I wish nothing but the best for you. As always, appreciate you, my brother. Let's kick things off here with Max, which my thing is being a little bit slow. So let's
I was just gonna ask, is that you slow or me slow? But
nah, it's me. They're not they don't seem to be working here. They don't seem to be working. Can you see the comments? Can you see the
yeah, let me
the start? Yeah,
Yeah,
toss it
yeah.
up there. Let's see if it works for you.
Let's see if we get this first one up there. Can you see that one, Big?
There you go. Yeah. Go to Bruce first, though. We gotta make sure we do all
Nate.
our super chatters first. Nate, we'll get to you, no doubt about it. All right. Max, still upset that they chose to retread a bald tire, but do you think there's any chance Shieldhouse could be half for offensive coordinator, or is he bringing in his buddies? I do think that the Shieldhouse thing is gone. I also think that Shieldhouse is going to end up in.
Oh, did we lose Noah there for a second? We'll let him while he figures that out. I'm not sure if you're hearing double people speaking. My apologies, Noah. We did lose you there for a second. I'll step in here to answer Max's question. When it comes to Shieldhouse, what Noah was about to say is that it seems likely that the Cleveland Browns are going to be the destination for Nathan Shieldhouse, much to everyone's chagrin who might have wanted him with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think this is my fear, right? And this was my fear in putting together this list that we talked about a couple of minutes ago. It's just that I don't want to see retreads. Noah doesn't want to see retreads. You don't want to see retreads. But when you look at a guy like Mike McCarthy, who has 33 years of NFL experience, has made relationships all over the place, it is probably inevitable that his relationships, the people he is closest to, the people that he is going to pivot to become and fill out his staff, are going to be probably older retreads, guys we know a lot of. The name that Noah and I and our buddy Jack Markowski, who also has been contributing during this coverage, threw out a name. Oh, we got him, Noah.
I don't know what happened. I have no
idea. Was just wrapping up my thoughts about how we all fear a retread, and I was going to throw out a crazy name of a retread that me and Jack were throwing out, and that was good old Mike Zimmer. And that is like the ultimate like fever dream that this goes to. But yeah, I mentioned some stuff about the Cleveland connection with Shieldhouse. If you have any other thoughts about that, or McCarthy's potential staff.
No, I think you're spot on. Like, and I think Shieldhouse is most likely going to end up in Cleveland, which is a bummer and is not a great look for the Steelers, unless he turns out to be real bad. You know, maybe him and Pro Bowl Shedeur Sanders, who we'll get to here in a moment, great together, but we'll see. Zimmer would suck, and there are a couple others that also terrify you when it comes to Mike McCarthy's staff. I'm hoping that they go young. Mike McCarthy's always got a couple of buddies. I'm just hoping that those buddies are not the same buddies that he's had forever. Remington looks like we're back, which is good. The only people excited about McCarthy is over 60.
Which we love our over 60 Steelers fan, our over 60 picnic pack. Sure. We don't have an issue. There might be a demographical consensus, though. You know, it might be something that's happening.
Might be for sure. And you know what? I hope they enjoy it. Keystone Knight, Big Mike to the Steelers and Arthur Smith to Ohio State. I'm very upset with my team coaching hires. Oh, Keystone Knight got a little, I don't know if you heard Keystone Knight first commit to the Ohio State University 2026 class of tight end. No other than Jonnu Smith, the 1 year left eligibility. My guy. What a time. You gotta hope. You gotta hope. You gotta hope that Jonnu's just sitting there going, I'm going back to college. I'm going. Art probably called him. Hey, could you? Are you allowed to come back? Can you do that? He's like, I don't know, but I can figure it out. You know, you got any mustaches available for me? Easy. Ship
I
them
am 12.
It's terrible times. Terrible times. Slade, considering going to the draft flying from Idaho. Is that ID? To Pennsylvania just to boo Art Rooney. Yikes. I do think I would feel bad for Art if he got a very bad welcome, but I think he did it to himself if he gets a very bad welcome to the Pittsburgh Steelers in this one. Could you imagine could you imagine hosting a draft in your city, hiring Mike McCarthy, and then trading up in the draft to draft Ty Simpson in the first round? Could you Yeah, like I don't even think there is a response. I think the next time they show the draft itself, like they show the people, it's just empty because everybody leaves and goes, I'm done. This is the end of this one. And it would suck. It would suck. Remington, the Pittsburgh Cowboys. That's all we are now. Pittsburgh Packers too. Pittsburgh Packers. Shout out to Mike McCarthy, who's won one more playoff game than Mike Tomlin over the last 9 years.
That's true. That's true.
That's true.
He's a good coach. He's a good coach, Noah.
I think Mike McCarthy is a good coach.
He genuinely is a good coach.
Yeah, I just don't want him as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, it's just my thoughts. Somber. Step down Rudy chance at the draft incoming. Yikes. Big yikes. Or sell the team. But I'm not advocating for either. And I'm very excited to see what Rooney has to say tomorrow in person when he gets an opportunity to answer questions. I just,
what's he gonna get asked?
I think he'll get asked some serious questions. I do think that people will ask, about fans being really upset and what went into it, and why he's afraid of the rebuild. I think those things will be asked. If not by everybody, at least one of those questions will be asked by me. So, at bare minimum, people will ask, or one will be asked. And we'll see. Mac to Howard. What is the difference from him in college and Big Ben? And you can't use what Ben is now versus what he was in college. Okay. Big Ben in college was a top 10 pick in the NFL draft.
Yeah. Big Ben was a demonstrably better prospect out of college. He had the physical tools required to be a star quarterback. He stuck out playing in Ohio,
Yeah.
That's something.
Stuck out to the point where he was top 11. He was 11th, right? He was picked 11th.
Yeah.
Top 11 pick in the draft. Like he was that guy.
Yeah. What is this? Listen, I know I was one of the people who was like high on Will Howard coming out of the draft because the national championship winning quarterback. I get all that.
Yeah.
But like, I think we're kind of rewriting history. Like, let's not forget how many national championship winning quarterbacks there have been in the NCAA who were just cogs in the machine. You know what I mean? Who are just pieces of a large, great organization or, university, and they could not really translate to the NFL. That is more so the case. That is not just me being a pessimistic version of myself. That is the reality. Most NCAA championship winning quarterbacks are not good NFL quarterbacks.
Exactly. Yes, I agree. And I think if you take it even like a simpler version of where they were drafted, which to me is I just don't understand why we try to fight it so hard. Like if Will Howard was drafted in the 6th round, but Ben was still here, nobody would be talking about Will Howard eventually becoming the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They would just be talking about how he's a 6th round pick to be a backup to Ben Roethlisberger. But because desperate times call for desperate measures, people are trying so hard to come up with reasons. And truthfully, we've never seen him throw an NFL pass, So we have no idea. But if you go off of history, if you go off of what all of history outside of literally 2 names, it just doesn't show that it's likely at all to happen. Max, a QB I wouldn't mind getting is Sawyer Robinson from Baylor in the later rounds. Sawyer Robinson.
Someone's brought him up before on this spot.
Yeah.
Comments, right?
Yes.
I love it. I appreciate how into it everybody is here and like how many names that what do you think? What do you have any sort of NFL projection for him?
I think he's a mid-round pick, like a 5th, 6th rounder that, look, if Mike McCarthy's big claim to fame is I could develop a quarterback and you end up with a Sawyer Robinson, Will Howard, and, you sign somebody young in free agency like a Mac Jones, cool. And you want to duke them out and say best man wins, sounds good to me. Like, I wouldn't mind that at all. I would look at Sawyer Robinson the same way as I look at Will Howard. Maybe a quality backup, maybe stuns the world, but I wouldn't put my money on it. And I'm okay with that. You know, I am. I would be okay with taking a long shot on somebody in this draft than to go after somebody that is supposed to be good early in the draft, because I just don't think they exist. I would rather go and try to find that miracle pick. And I don't believe that miracle pick exists, but I'd rather go and try to find it.
I will say with certainty, I would much rather see a Sawyer Robinson be selected in round 5 than Ty Simpson in the first round. That just seems like I think either way you're getting the same player, which is not a very good one. You know, you would be exceeding expectations and then some if they were to find big success with any of those players. There's no great quarterbacks available in this draft. I don't know.
No.
Were we planning to talk about the quarterback that has the biggest connection to Mike McCarthy in this upcoming class? We're going to talk about that later this week. Do you want to talk about it now?
If that happens, so okay, we could talk about it now. For those who don't know, Garrett Nussmeier, who cares?
Who gives a flying rat's ass?
His father, I don't remember his father's name.
Doug
coached with Mike McCarthy at the Dallas Cowboys. So if you were going to draw a connection to any two Pittsburgh Steelers head coach and NFL draft eligible quarterback, you would go with the guy from LSU and say, well, he knows his dad. Maybe he sees the potential in a good old Garrett. 8 months ago, I tell you, I wouldn't mind it. Where we sit today, I tell you, 8 months ago, me was dumb. New me would think that's an awful pick. Awful. And truthfully, I'd take Sawyer Robinson 40 times before I touched Garrett Nussmeier or whatever with a 10-foot pole, because I just don't think that to me, he's that middle round quarterback that's just drafting because he should have been good, but he wasn't. And then he doesn't end up being good. And then you just move on. That's what he reminds me of. At least these other middle to late round quarterbacks who were always supposed to be middle to late round quarterbacks fit the mold. And those guys tend to be decent backups. And that's what I'd be looking for. But yeah, no, Garrett's the name to watch, which stinks.
Listen, I agree with your assessment. I look at guys like Garrett Nussmeier, Drew Aller, Ty Simpson. These guys all fall in the same bucket of should have been good, are not. Don't try to make them good. I don't care who your papa is. That's just the truth. I'd much rather see Byron Brown. I'd much rather see Sawyer Robinson. I'd much rather see Trinidad Chambliss. Any of these guys that maybe they could get after, the third round on. You take a risk like that, I'm great with it. You take a flyer on one of those guys. I get what you're trying to do, even if I don't have the same projection and evaluation on that player.
Yeah. Oh, could you imagine Mason Rudolph, Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, Garrett Nussmeier, quarterback room 2026?
How are you going to do Skylar Thompson so dirty like that?
They would. They 100% would. And they'd only do it because they owe Mason $2 million, and they can't give Mason free money. That goes against everything they know. What about Declan Doyle, offensive coordinator from the Bears? So the tough part here is that, what, did I say it wrong?
No, I'm assuming his name is Declan, but
Declan.
Declan sounds like something very nefarious.
Yeah.
Not even like a veiledly thin one. You know what I mean?
Nah, bad. That's a bad misinterpretation of that name for sure. That one's on me. Declan.
Meet my son, racist Doyle.
Declan is definitely a better name, for sure. The issue here is that guys usually don't make lateral moves, and that's what would happen is you're going to go from offensive coordinator to offensive coordinator. He's already taken his name out of consideration with other head coaching jobs. So my assumption is he's staying in Chicago.
Yeah. And I believe he interviewed for the offensive coordinator position in Philadelphia as well and withdrew. So
did he really?
Yeah. He had an interview with Philadelphia. I don't know if he withdrew before it happened or after, but it was for the offensive coordinator position. That's a great. I wrote about him before as like one of those young names to watch, but like we're a year early on this cycle. Yeah, Grant Udinski, maybe Nate Shieldhouse, Declan Doyle. These are guys who are 30. And they're already getting consideration for big time roles. So names to watch for sure. But yeah, no, they won't get him to come here because I really think he enjoys working with Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. And yeah, understandably so.
Yeah, and if he could develop Caleb Williams, who looks like he's going to be able to, into something good, it looks so good for his head coaching candidacy. He understands that. Sports. I don't think Rodgers returns. They respect each other, but he didn't like McCarthy as a coach. He'll go where he always wanted, Minnesota Vikings with Kevin O'Connell. That would that wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't say that'd be surprising.
I just think,
I don't know if it'll happen.
Don't you think his real wife, who's real and is a person that he's married to legally, as a married person, would want him to be home? He took all this time for personal reasons to delay the choice to decide whether he was going to play again. He got married. I don't know, man. Like, how much does your real wife, who's real and is a person that's married to Aaron Rodgers for real, and it's not fake in any sort of way, like, how long do you want to put off? It's the same thing as Phillip Rivers. Like, it's like thank God he's not going to be the head coach in Buffalo. Thank God he loves his kids enough.
Barely.
He did, but he was trying to get out of it still.
Let's be honest, okay? Aaron Rodgers leans way more Tom Brady than Phillip Rivers. So this man, he'd give up a family. For Tom Brady was like, I'm out, guys. I'm done. I'm going to play some football. I'll see y'all in a year.
I think his wife was like, I'm done. And he was like, well, I guess I'll go play football.
I'll go play football. True. Mike McDonald said did you not see the viral clip of Mike McDonald floating around where he's like, yeah, I see my kid for like a half hour on Thursdays. Like,
no, I hate that though. I hate that.
That's the NFL. These guys are lunatics. They're lunatics. I would now to go play in Minnesota. I mean, there's a dome, but it's cold there. It's cold. At least in Pittsburgh, it gets cold after the season. Like season's over, then it snows. Waited a week. I don't know, but yes, if I had to guess where he ends up outside of Pittsburgh, it'd be the Vikings. I could see it happening. I still think he ends up back in Pittsburgh. I do. I just think that's where he's
hope
going.
Not.
Yeah, you rooting for Will Howard?
No, I'm rooting for anyone else. I'd rather see
sounds
Will
like
Howard.
a root for Will Howard.
I'd rather see Will Howard than Aaron Rodgers for sure.
Yeah, agreed. 350 Supers. Thoughts on a UFL quarterback? I don't actually know the UFL QBs.
Let me see if I can find any in the next 10 seconds.
I was gonna say because I don't know if
that's
there's Kellen Mond. I think is still out there. Shout out to Kellen Mond. I'll preference it. No, Kellen Mond was Ole Miss. I will preference it by saying that I don't think you sign a quarterback.
We're both wrong.
Texas A&M, that's what it was. That you don't select a UFL quarterback and have any expectations that they're going to be good. They're in the UFL for a reason. It's those guys have even tried in the NFL and couldn't make it. But I, again, don't know who's out there.
You know what the U in UFL stands for?
United.
Under.
That was a good one. That was a good one. I hope you're like 60-year-old uncle or something came up with that one, and you've been holding that one in for a while.
I think my brain's just getting ready to become a father by just making dad jokes, just like without even being like, oh my goodness.
True. Very true. Very true.
Luis Perez, top passer in the UFL in 2025.
Yeah, I don't even know who that is. I don't. I wish I did, and I wish there were some cool guys, but I just don't think that they're readily available or out there. Dandy, Mike McCarthy getting the job ended my sobriety. I hope that for you and your loved ones, I hope that's not true.
I was just say, hey guys, can I don't like that between Saturday with all of the what seemed to be bullying about Mike McCarthy's body and this joke. It's football, I like humor, but if you ever need help, get it. Don't let this ruin your sobriety, because this a game. So let's keep that in mind when we talk about this stuff.
Broderick, keeping it positive, we hired an offensive-minded head coach, which I agree with, and I think was a good move for the Pittsburgh Steelers and something that I wanted them to do. I also, again, think Mike McCarthy's had a lot of success in his 18 years as a NFL head coach and helped develop Joe Montana during the final 2 years of his NFL career. And I just think that is hard to argue with. It's so hard to argue. He made Brett Favre just as good as he was when he got there.
Yeah.
And I just,
you know how many MVPs Brett Favre had already won before Mike McCarthy? Just three. So you want to tell me that Mike McCarthy didn't impact his game?
He's good.
Shows you don't know ball.
Shows you don't know ball. Shows you don't know ball. I am excited about the offensive-minded head coach. And maybe Art Rooney gets to shove this all in our face. And I always hope that he does. You know what I mean? I always hope that he does. Timothy, Mike McCarthy is about to embark on the journey of his life, and he's younger than me. Maybe.
Kind of proves an earlier comment's point about who was popular, who Mike McCarthy's popular amongst.
True. Very true. Very true.
We didn't make that argument, but you might have proved it. Shout out, Tim. You're the man.
For sure. Mac. Then not all top 10 picks work out. Incredibly true. So true. Truest statement ever. Won't argue that one either. I think all facts need to be represented in the same light as what they are, and I very much so agree. However, when it comes to the quarterback position, the most non-worked out position of all positions, if you are going to take a shot on a position, the one that you are probably going to miss on more than any other is a quarterback. First-round quarterbacks work out a hell of a lot more than sixth-round quarterbacks in terms of Hall of Fame starters in the NFL. But again, I 100% agree with this at all times. Killa B, the bottle of Jack Daniels calling to me like the Green Goblin mask after seeing McCarthy hired. Pray they hire Cliff to fix the offense. Ooh, a little Cliff Kingsbury as offensive coordinator?
Oh. Listen, I wouldn't be mad. Not my pick, right? Like I'm not overly impressed, with what the recent track record. Some people blame Kyler, some people blame him, some people blame both. It's Jacob. So I think it's kind of he doesn't do a ton for me, but younger guy has connections. Worked with a lot of different quarterbacks. I'm not, again, I can criticize anything, but I at least, again, I understand the intent you bring in Cliff Kingsbury, 6 out of 10 higher in my mind.
Yeah, and I'm okay with 6 out of 10 higher for offensive coordinator with some upside. I think that there are some younger, exciting names out there, but if you're going to go boring, I'd be okay with that boring. I'd definitely be okay with that boring. Loon, does McCarthy work magic on Ty Simpson or Trinidad Chambliss? All right, well, let me make my thoughts on this very clear. I would say the answer is potentially in Trinidad Chambliss because I really like that guy. Ty Simpson, I'd say yikes. However, there is somebody in the comments making it very known that Ty Simpson apparently has a disc in his back, that he hurt his back. And before his back injury, he was really, really good. I don't know how true that is. And if that is, Ty Simpson is post-back surgery, so that's not good. I'm not, and I don't know if he ever goes back to it, but I will give him some slack in the matter. Still, Trinidad Chambliss is my guy all day, every day.
Yes, I would prefer Trinidad over Ty Simpson for sure. Injuries certainly make a ton of sense. why someone's play would struggle like that, or mobility, things that stood out earlier in the season. I digress. Here, this is like, I will concede that Mike McCarthy is good with quarterbacks. What you cannot convince me of, and what no one can show me, is a rookie drafted by Mike McCarthy who goes on to be an excellent quarterback. Can't say Aaron Rodgers didn't draft him. 4 years later, he became the starting quarterback. I don't accept that. I don't accept that.
He also has never been given the opportunity.
That's, you know where he was for 4 years?
Where?
I'm sorry, 1 season before. I'm looking at my whiteboard while I say this. 1 season before he got hired by Green Bay.
New Orleans, right?
He was in New Orleans for 4 years, but then 1 season before Green Bay hired him, he was the OC with the San Francisco 49ers.
Yes.
They pick a young quarterback named Alex Smith. You know what he did his rookie year?
He did not play well, but he's also from Utah.
Yeah.
He's also from Utah.
Yeah.
It was not Alex Alex Smith was the most questionable. He got picked in the first overall, and everybody went, "Did you even know who that was?" I don't remember Alex Smith being a guy. It's all right. It's not a good argument on my part for the optimism. Good argument on your side.
I think it's like the optimism is well founded, right? And
yeah,
I just am like, where is that prime example that you're pointing to in this? Like, the Steelers need to draft a quarterback and develop him, not take a quarterback who has raw traits, is primed for greatness, and just needs that ignition, just needs that spark. Like you're saying, can you draft a guy who maybe doesn't even have the it factor and turn him, into a rags to riches story? Like, there's no history in Mike McCarthy's 30 plus years in the league to suggest that he does that.
Maybe it starts today. Maybe it starts today. Grayson the Ginger. All right, gentlemen, let's go ahead and get this out of the way now. What is your way too early prediction for the Steelers record next season? I mean, it's easy for me. It's so easy for me. So easy. 9-8.
Say it. I was going to say we could say it on the same exact time. It's 9-8. Grayson, I just want to give a shout out. I saw his earlier comment, having a good time with Jar Jar Blinks.
Having a good time.
I appreciate it. We appreciate the love.
Yeah. We can't read that comment. It's a family friendly show, but we do love you, brother. I'm glad that you're enjoying yourself.
9-8.
9-8. It's 9-8, baby. Strap in. It's about to be a bumpy road. We're going to have fun the whole time. Remington, Pittsburgh fans are obsessed with people from Pittsburgh. Just because he's from the area doesn't mean he will be good. Don't be delusional. I honestly think, let me ask you, as somebody who grew up in Pittsburgh, who knows a lot of people from Pittsburgh, me and you were sending me messages from your mom and her response to the situation. So you know more than I. If McCarthy was not from Pittsburgh, do you think that would help the situation more than hurt it?
Listen, I think it would probably hurt more than help. There are people that are excited. There's nobody who loves people from Pittsburgh more than people from Pittsburgh, right? You know what I mean? Like, Tor and I watch The Pit on HBO, and every single reference they make that is specific and correct to Pittsburgh, I lose my mind over. I'm like, they see us, see me. So there is this element of like love and camaraderie that is just built into Pittsburghers recognizing their own. That also comes with a backside of being like, because I know you better do it. So there is a positive to it. There's a lot of love that comes from him being a Pittsburgher for sure. But if you took away where he was from, if he was from California, and you told me that the Pittsburgh Steelers hired a 62-year-old coach who has no ties to the organization other than working with Omar Khan in 2000, I would say that's a dreadful pick. The fact that he's from Pittsburgh, you're like, man, they hired a Pittsburgh guy. I see why they did it. I hate it, but I see why they did it.
That sucks. That sucks. I don't think anybody should be obsessed with coaches from Pittsburgh. Some good ones. Don't get me wrong. There are some other ones from not Pittsburgh that I also really enjoyed. Like really, really enjoyed and would have liked the Steelers to pursue. A gum, but not forgotten. Still hurts a little bit. No one is saying Howard is the future. We just want him to get a chance. If he sucks, we're good for the draft. If he's great, we're good anyways. I mean, yeah, I'm 100% on board with that. I'm all for that. I think people take my criticism of Will Howard and maybe our criticism of Will Howard the wrong way. If the Steelers were to start Will Howard, I'd be all for it. You know, great. You want to go put him out there? Awesome. I have not gotten any indication before Art Rooney said this thing that was a real possibility. And we've stated that 100 times. And I don't think that he's going to succeed if given the opportunity. Those are my two beliefs in the matter. But I'm all for it. You want to put Will Howard out there week 1? I'm all for it. Like, you know what I mean? I don't want Aaron Rodgers to come back. This is way more fun to talk about Will Howard. I'd have a blast talking about Will Howard. And if he succeeds, I'd have a blast watching him succeed. So I'm all for this for sure. For sure.
I agree completely. I want nothing more than to talk about only good things, right? Like if we came on here and talked for 30 minutes about how perfect the Steelers were, how great Will Howard was doing and how great everyone else was doing, like I genuinely would be like a pig in crap. Like that would fill me with glee. But you know, that's not the world as I see it.
No. KGK, hasn't Mike McCarthy been around since the 90s or since the 1900s? Jeez Louise.
20th century.
93 is his first year as an NFL assistant with the Kansas City Chiefs, where he developed Joe Montana, where he made that pitch very known in the Steelers interview process. Shout outs to nobody fact checking that situation. Although I do see Omar Khan sitting there, who like probably did know, being like, did he just say Joe Montana? Did he say did that really come out of his mouth right now? And I could just see Art being like, you're right. He did it.
Did I tell you guys he was cool or what?
Another Pittsburgh legend. One Pittsburgh legend helped develop the other. I mean, I don't know why we go even farther. I don't even know why we're letting anybody else in the building. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. 93 was his first year. Broderick, big guess. Next offensive and defensive coordinator. That's tough, man. That's really tough. I have such a hard time with McCarthy because I just don't know what direction he's going to go in. Like I would need a list. I really would. I will say Al Harris, I think, is a real possibility for defensive coordinator for the Steelers. I think Raheem Morris is also a real possibility. You know, a coach that's really respected in the NFL. I would imagine him and Mike McCarthy have crossed paths at some point, even if they didn't coach together, and they have connections that draw them together. But offensive coordinator, man, I have no idea. Like I'm so lost on this topic of conversation.
Yeah, offensive coordinator. There is no. Let's be very clear. There is no like front runners. There's no like guys that are immediately sort of connected to the situation. Like there is an extensive list of people who have worked with Mike McCarthy that could probably fill both roles. You look at guys like Scott Tolzien, like we talked about earlier. You look at guys like Steve Shimko from Dallas. I think those are two names to watch for sure. And my bet would be on Al Harris for the defensive coordinator position. There's going to be lots more names, I feel like, that we will talk about in the coming days, but those three feel like names to keep in mind.
Yes. Those, I appreciate those. Tabal? Did I say that? Tabal salad? Tabula salad? Yeah.
Tabbouleh. I want to say
Tabbouleh salad. I like it. Going from Tomlin to McCarthy is like, we did it again. It's like It's like shitting your pants and changing your shirt, which is
I thought whoever said that comment on Saturday genuinely came up with that. It may, and I'm not saying this to discredit that person. I didn't realize that was from a comedy set. And I was like, we might have the funniest person alive in our comments. I was like, this guy needs to be on SNL. This guy might be Rodney Dangerfield back alive. So if you did not know that was a joke somewhere else, I'm still sorry to burst your bubble. Did not mean to. If it was a little allusion, little reference to it, we love it. Love it.
Yeah, for sure. Grace and the Ginger. If you boys were Art Rooney II and Omar Khan, what draft picks would you use in a massive trade, and who would you trade for? Do you draft a QB or go all in? I don't draft a quarterback. I don't touch a quarterback in the draft. I also, honestly, if I'm going to make a big, giant, massive splash trade, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to stack my extra third, a fourth, maybe a fifth, and try to get a second round next year or a first to next year from somebody and just say, hey, here's my draft pile. What will you give me next year? Because then we just push it down the line. You just push the possibilities down the line to move up and get a quarterback. And I think that's the best course of action, is to just make sure that you're prepared every year until you could go get one. Until there's a good draft class in front of you, just prepare to go get it. So that would be my big giant trade. I don't know if that's possible in real life. It doesn't seem to ever happen. I don't think there's a player out there I'd be going to get. You know, I'm not interested in a player right now.
Yeah, I would agree with you in terms of the best way to proceed. I would say Art Rooney II vehemently disagrees with that sort of punting to gain more assets down the line. Like, he would be like, how are we going to win now? Can't do it. I think
got one Super Bowl today.
Got one Super Bowl 2026. Going to the Bourbon Bowl. Mud Dog's going to the Bourbon Bowl. And I think what they really should do is they have all of these draft picks. See if you can not go all in, in the first round or anything like that. But if you can get an additional second round selection, package some of those other picks to move up, I think that's what you should do when you target those other positions of need that remain. Your left tackle, D tackle, secondary, wide receiver. You're trying to add some of those positions as well. Because then when you go into 2027, if you have more of those holes plugged and you know that you have your entire starting offensive line in place, you just need the quarterback. You have a 1 and 2 wide receiver and a tight end in place, just need a quarterback. It makes your draft plans so much simpler in come next year.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Autumn. What about Wink Martindale for defensive coordinator?
Wink
Martindale.
Isn't he in his 60s too?
He's got to be up there. He just interviewed with somebody though for a defensive coordinator position. The Jets. He interviewed for the Jets.
Oh yeah,
defensive coordinator position, which is yikes. Is he in? Was he in
62? God, no, pass.
I mean, I'm less strict on the age when it comes to offensive and defensive coordinators because I don't think that you stick around long if you're actually good. But did he coach? No, he coached in Michigan this year.
Oh,
Michigan was not good. Was not good. I think he's a little too far removed from the NFL for me to be excited about it. It was a couple of years ago. If he just left Baltimore, I'd be like, yeah, all right, go get him. He's a great defensive coordinator at the time. I think after you remove yourself from a couple of years, my excitement levels go down quite a bit. Jonathan, who do you like to see as our new offensive line coach? That's it.
My cousin Bunk. That's who I'd like to see.
Mike Munchak. I don't even know.
That would be ideal. I don't have a name for O-line coach, if I'm being perfectly honest. I can't even think of one on the fly. Don't know who's ready, who you can grab. Cannot have the last name Myers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's really my only point to this whole thing. But offensive line coaches, I have zero. That's so hard for me to guess. I wish I had a better answer. Grace and the Ginger, I meant who would you trade for with current players? Would you use your draft capital to trade for any already established players like Burrow To be honest, no, I would not. I wouldn't. I don't think the Steelers should be trying real hard to win 2026. I don't. I think they should just put it out there, see what they got, draft a wide receiver, draft an offensive lineman, draft a defensive lineman, fill the holes that way, and then say, all right, there it is, pal. That's what we did. Trade a couple of middle round picks for I don't know, a third wide receiver, that's cool. Joe Burrow would be awesome, but you wouldn't actually get him. You'd be giving up 4 picks, I think, to go get a Joe Burrow, which I would do, but realistic options, I'm very cool with the Steelers just seeing what they got in 2026, running it as is and just hoping for the best.
Yes. I tell you what, I don't know what's going on in Dallas, but I know we've talked about this name before. People have thrown his name around before in the comment section. I look at a guy like Joe Milton, and you're like, what are they doing with Dak? What are they doing moving forward in Dallas? Is everything hunky-dory with good old Jerry Jones, Doug Dimmadome? If you could use anything to maybe go get a current player like that to add to your quarterback mix, I would be okay with that. But I'm not really a fan of going out and trying to use those assets or really anyone off of the roster right now to go get a different currently rostered player.
Very much so agreed. Very much so agreed. Broderick, controversy. Todd Haley was our best offensive coordinator during Big Ben's career. Bruce Arians was the best offensive coordinator during Ben Roethlisberger's career. Then it was Todd Haley, which is yikes.
Bring
Shout
him
out
back.
Todd Haley. Shout out to Todd Haley. Hope he's living his best life out there. I really do. But yeah, it is. I mean, unless you feel different, it's Bruce Arians, Todd Haley, and then just throw the rest in a jar, light Matt Canada's piece of paper on fire, and pick one out of a hat.
No, I agree. I'm pretty sure Todd Haley's in the UFL.
UFL.
Right,
Yeah, he's been in the UFL.
With the Columbus Aviators. Man. He's next door.
He's hanging out, dude. He's hanging out. He just flies up from Florida to it's awesome. Shout out. Did you ever see Todd Haley's house? We don't have a lot of time left, but did you ever see Todd Haley's house? The man has.
Well, I look at his bedroom every night.
Bro, he's got big giant birds that just fly around his house and his outside little caged pool area in Florida.
Where does he live in Florida?
I don't know. Well, Florida's just Florida.
Dude, Florida's a different planet.
Yeah, and that's awesome. Shout out to it's awesome that Todd Haley just fully embraced I'm gonna be Todd Haley in Florida. You know what I mean? But go look it up because their videos is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Please don't trade me Watt. What about Patrick Graham as defensive coordinator? I like Patrick Graham. I think Patrick Graham is
how old is Patrick Graham? 47.
Pretty interesting. Yeah, he's young. He's actually real young. My problem is I don't like the Raiders overall and what they've done, but I do think that he's made the most out of some really terrible names. He's played with nothing and made Max Crosby look good.
Yeah, I was gonna say Max Crosby's that big, that huge sort of mitigator to everything else or any other questions. You're like, well, Max Crosby, elite pass rusher, got to give Patrick Graham some credit, right? So I see that, I get that. Not a bad option. There's gonna be. Is there anyone that they could name that would be more disappointing than this head coaching search is already gone for a coordinator position? There's your question to ponder.
Wait, say that again. Could there be what?
Would any coordinator that's named, would any of this be more disappointing than the head coaching hire's been?
Yeah, for sure, dude. You could go hire Mike Zimmer.
That would make me mad. Make me mad as hell.
Yeah, I think so. I think yes. I think there's yes. Mike McCarthy, again, good track record in the NFL. You could be upset about it. It's really hard to argue that Mike McCarthy hasn't been a successful head coach for 18 years. The coach you want? Heck no. But you could also argue Mike Zimmer stunk as a defensive coordinator when he was with the Dallas Cowboys last. And it just wasn't good. So yeah, I do think, yes, I think it could get much worse. I think he could have brought Arthur Smith back. You know what I mean? And that would have, yep. See what I mean? It's really not. It's actually not even hard. It's not even hard to do.
No, you're so right. You're so
Yeah.
right. Oh my gosh.
Heavy just hopped on, so I may have missed it earlier in the show, but Philip Pony said Shula bombed the interview. Did you hear that or no? Before we answer that, somebody did ask Lizard here, did Shula and Shieldhouse withdraw from consideration before McCarthy was hired? They did not. I also didn't. I did not hear. I heard Shula impressed in the interview that the Steelers just Rooney wanted McCarthy, man. And when he made that decision, there was no turning back. But I did not hear that. And I'm not going to call out the source, but I wouldn't call out that source. I wouldn't use that source.
Yeah, I've seen what was said about Shula supposedly bombing it, and I don't buy it at all.
No, I don't either. I don't either. ND Joe, if Art Rooney II let us peek behind the curtain about him hiring McCarthy, who's to say he does the same for coordinators we already know about Canada? I do think he'll have a hand in the situation. What excites me about that is I know Art Rooney has a lot of respect for a guy like Raheem Morris. And cool. You want to go get your guy? Go get your guy. You know what I mean? Like, cool. And my problem is, yeah, sometimes he does things like, man, that Matt Canada guy looks real good at Pitt 4 years ago. We should bring him on. What's he been doing? Oh, he's been fired 8 times? Get him over here. Get him. Come on. Bring him over. Let's get him in the building.
Shake my hand, Matt. You got a job.
Yeah. So you got to hope not. But at the same time, he does have some respect for guys who are around the league. Roger Steeler, Leslie Frazier, defensive coordinator, make it happen. Leslie Frazier, older name for sure, but also, I mean, not a pretty fantastic resume. You know what I mean? Like pretty one of the best.
Yeah.
Like that would be, I'd be all for it. He would be a guy I'd be excited about if he ended up. I think he's past that point of his career at 66 years old. I think he's just excited about being an assistant head coach. But if it was possible, yeah, I'd be very excited for it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, rooting for him.
Yeah, agreed. Yinzer Jake, I get that people wanted a different head coach, but I've been shocked with how disrespectful people have been. McCarthy is a Yinzer and deserves more respect. People have been pretty upset. Go check I put out a thing, rate it 1 to 10, okay? And then I asked an AI because Grok did nothing. I asked an AI thing to give me the median score, and it was negative 1,060. It was like a ridiculous number, but it was a negative. And I was like, sick.
Someone probably put a bajillion, like a negative bajillion.
Yeah. Oh, everybody put a negative. It had 8 likes and like 185 comments at one point. Like people were not happy. Jonathan, becoming a new member. Appreciate you, my guy. Make sure you're calling in always. Hey, Noah, new subscriber here. Question: why won't Rooney spend the money to update an aging Steelers facility or use analytics, which is the modern NFL trend? I think a lot of it's space. You're really restricted there, and they have to get out of that facility if they're going to grow. I also think some of it is just Steelers being Steelers, you know. That's why they got rid of the NFL reports, because all these people like Rooney were complaining so much. Do I think that the NFL report card is as accurate as people want to make it? No. You know what I mean? Like, you could interview the 7th string kicker and be like, what do you feel about this? And that could be one of your 8 guys that you interviewed. But I do think a lot of it has to come down to money, and I do think he needs to spend more of it. But why won't he?
Yeah.
A lot of it's space. A lot of it is space.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Nate Moore, Shador Sanders is a Pro Bowler, baby. Shout out to Shador and the Pro Bowl. Gotta love it.
It's what it's all about. This is what
it is. I loved it. It was the best news of the day. Shout out to Shador being Shador, doing Shador things. You know what I'm saying? What does he do? What's his little thing here? I don't even know. It's one of these.
Yeah, sure. Whatever your heart desires.
This shit pumping. We are shit pumping. Double R, did McCarthy say he's going to be the quarterback's coach? If not, how is he going to have anything to do with developing our quarterbacks? Most head coaches, offensive coordinators have a really heavy hand in developing quarterbacks, like huge, massive. You spend a lot of time with these guys. During practice, you are standing right there with the coach, the quarterbacks the whole time. You're in quarterback meetings. it's very easy for him to be pretty hands-on with developing whoever the next head coach, our quarterback is, even if he's not a quarterback's coach. That's just typical NFL. Renegade Minka, Noah, how much responsibility does Tomlin have for leaving early and the McCarthy hire? Well, all of it, because he left early. You know what I mean? He don't leave early. Mike McCarthy's not the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and people are just mad at Mike Tomlin's the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Lose, guys. Lose. Shyler, surprised at AR2's meddling. What do we know about his son who's waiting to take his role? We know that I like Dan. I think Dan's really good, but I don't think he has much say in the building right now. I think he's just a number 3, maybe a number 4 behind Omar Khan and Sheldon White. That's what I think he is. I'm not surprised with his meddling. He's done it in the past with massive decisions, and he did. I was surprised that he made the call, but like just went with it and said, "This is our guy. We don't even get to have a conversation." But
well, now in 20 years, AR2's son he'll be able to hire the next head coach because he'll have been heavily involved in this process. Wink.
True.
Just like AR2 was in Mike Tomlin's.
Sean Payton and McCarthy have the same stats. True. And if there's any cling of hope that you could have in this situation, it is Sean Payton. And I think that's a great example for sure. Vincent, what is the difference between this move with the McCarthy and the Patriots and Vrabel? I don't really see one. Oh, I see a massive difference. I mean, Mike Vrabel's 48 years old, something like that. Just starting. This is his second head coaching job ever. He got the Titans to the AFC Championship with an awful roster outside of Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown, because shout out to Ryan Tannehill, who's done nothing since then. And I think that's a big enough difference. I think age is a big enough difference. I think Sean Payton McCarthy is a better example. And if you're looking for optimism, that's a good example.
Sean Payton and Mike Vrabel have 2 things over Mike McCarthy. What have you done for me lately? Those 2 men can answer the question a lot. Mike McCarthy can answer one playoff win in the last.
Did nothing before he got fired from New Orleans, or before he left New Orleans.
Sure, he had as many Super Bowl wins as Mike McCarthy. And in the what have you done for me lately? Whose teams have won more playoff games in the last 3 years? It ain't Mike McCarthy's teams.
I agree with that, but I think that's
who's won more playoff games in the last decade? Mike Vrabel. Mike
Vrabel for sure.
Right. And Sean Payton. So the difference is, again, what have you done for me lately? That's why I rebuff these things about QB whisperer things being attributed to Mike McCarthy, because what have you done for me lately is a very powerful question that I think needs to be asked and answered.
I agree. Yeah, he did win 3 playoff games from 2017 on. So I will give you that. I thought it was a worse situation. So I'll go for it. And we'll finish it off with Grace and the Ginger here. I'll forever miss the Cole Holcomb and Brandon Ayuk update days on this show. By the way, how devastating will it be if the Pats pass us up with Super Bowl wins with the guy who the Steelers drafted 3rd overall, our 3rd round pick in 1997 to lead them there. So upsetting, dude. You want to talk about Yinzer on Yinzer crime? That's Yinzer on Yinzer crime right there. That's devastating. Shout out to Grace and the Ginger. Shout out. All right, guys. With that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, find all our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. Before you head out of here, hit that like and subscribe button. We can't thank you guys enough as we try to get to 60,000 subscribers, and we'll be back tomorrow. Until then, enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg.